anytime you're using any power tools or even hand tools in class, you need to wear safety glasses. I'm getting all these cameras going, I apologize. So safety glasses. So the first thing you do when you come into class, when we get back in school, when you come into this class, is you'll stop by the cabinet that has all the safety glasses. Your safety glasses will be assigned to you. They'll have a number. You'll have to pick up your safety glasses, then you can go to your assigned seat. You won't have to put these on until I say, okay, we're ready to go to work. Put your safety glasses on. Now, once that happens, you are not to take your safety glasses on at all until the end of class. When you're walking out the door, you can put your safety glasses back where you got them from. So safety glasses is something that you will be wearing in this class at all times. Now, the other thing to that is these do not, are used by more than just you. They're not just used by you. So my suggestion is that if you have the ability, get your own safety glasses, that you do that. That way you won't have to use mine and you know no one else is using them. And I'm not sure how that's going to work when we do COVID stuff, so that might change. So we'll see when we get back to the class how we operate that. That's a question I'll have to remember. All right, the other thing was that yesterday I did mention that when you're operating power tools or any machinery that has moving parts, you want to make sure that you're not wearing anything on yourself that can get caught up in those moving parts, and that will create a dangerous situation for you. So if you have long hair, make sure that you put your hair in a rubber band or in a hat, whatever you got to do in order to keep that hair from falling into the moving parts. If you're wearing baggy clothes, make sure that you pull the sleeves up and none of your clothes are able to get caught in the moving parts. Okay, it's important. Some of these things move pretty fast, and they'll wrap up your clothes, they'll wrap up a long necklace, they'll wrap up your hair, and it's going to try to pull you into the machine. So along with our number one rule, which is never ever look away, you shouldn't be wearing anything when you're operating machines that can get caught up in the moving parts and pull the rest of you into the machine. So never wear gloves when you're operating power tools or machinery. All of those things, anything that's on you that can get dragged or caught up in the moving parts, you don't want to wear those. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you the different parts of the machine. I'm going to move this camera closer to it so you guys can see it, and I'll be giving an explanation. I'll have recordings of this up probably this evening or tomorrow morning so you guys can review them and use them to answer the worksheet that I gave you for this particular machine. The only thing is that it's not going to have the belt sander. The worksheet is only for the disc sander. We have a combination of both, so you'll still be able to use it. Okay.
The thing I want you to see is that this is the table, and the table has the ability, it's on the other side, to move. So you can see this lever right here. When I loosen that lever, the table moves. Okay, you want it at a 90-degree angle unless you're sanding something that has an angle to it. But that's how you move the table. The table moves up and down. Now, you should always have about an 1/8-inch gap right here, okay, away from the sandpaper. You should always have an 1/8-inch gap. If this sandpaper is torn in any way, you need to let me know. If it's frayed, parts of it come loose, because we need to change it. So you never want to use sandpaper that's frayed or cut. Okay, you always want it to be intact, because you can run into problems. The way you sand or you change this belt, it has a drum here and a drum on the bottom. This top drum is adjustable right there. Okay, these knobs right here adjust the tilt of the drum, which makes the sandpaper go back and forth. So you don't want to mess with those. If the sandpaper is running in the center already, you don't want to mess with that at all. This lever loosens it, so you can change the belt. If the belt needs to be changed, you can just call me in and I'll change it, okay? So, table. This down here is the base. This right here is the on and off switch. I'm going to come around. This is the disc sander. It runs that way, so it goes downward. See this arrow here? It's telling you which way it's going. This also has the ability to tilt by loosening this knob, and there's another knob on the other side, and that tilts the table down. The same rule applies for the gap right here. Should be about 1/8 of an inch. You don't want any more than 1/8 of an inch, because if you had more, there's always a possibility of things going down in there and causing all kinds of problems. Okay, so we'll start here. On this machine, you don't want to get your fingers anywhere close to this sanding disc. So as a general rule, I say that you should stay about 2 inches apart. So from here to here, 2 inches away. So if I'm sanding a piece that's smaller than 2 inches, you could use that as your rule. Don't sand anything on the disc sander that is smaller than 2 inches, because your hands are way too close and you could slip, and then this is going to take off skin right away because it moves very fast. So on the disc sander only, you don't want to use, or you don't want to sand any part that's smaller than 2 inches. So hold on back here. All right. So as you can tell, this piece of wood has this little thing that it's pretty smooth going here, but it's rough because those are the lines that come from the bandsaw. So I want to sand this all so it looks really smooth. Now on the disc sander, you want to sand on the downstroke. That means from the center point, which is right there, I don't want to sand on this side. I always want to sand from the center point over. So I only have this much area that I can actually sand on with this sander. Because if I sand on this side, what will happen is it'll grab the material and throw it out. So you always want to sand on the downstroke. Okay? This is a big enough piece for me to sand. Now if I try to do this, I would be doing something wrong, because now my fingers are too close. Okay? I have to stay 2 inches away from the disc at all times when I'm sanding it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. So it moves pretty fast. Now the other thing you want to do is you want to move your material One of the other safety things, as you can see that it's still running, is you don't want to walk away from the sander until it stopped moving. You always want to wait till it stops moving before you walk away. And I just want to show you the difference here of now how smooth that is. So both the disc sander and the belt sander are only for the purpose of sanding smooth, not for cutting the material. So if you're cutting anything more than, let's say, 1/8 of an inch, if you need to take off anything more than 1/8 of an inch, you should do it on either the scroll saw, the bandsaw, any of the power tools to cut the material. These machines are only for cleaning up the material, making it smoother. And in this case, you can see that this is a nice smooth edge, okay? And that's what this disc sander is for. It's not for taking down material all the way down to the line there, okay? That I should be able to cut on the bandsaw, not on the sander. I'm going to go over to the belt sander real quick. Now, on the belt sander, it's a little bit different than on the other sanders. You can actually sand smaller pieces of material on the belt sander, because this isn't going to get you the way that you sand this small piece. Now, once I get to here, I'm pretty close, and that can be dangerous. I'm going to change the angle real quick. I want you guys to see. Okay, let me grab another piece of scrap wood here. Alright, so if I'm sanding this piece of wood, I'm actually 2 inches away from the belt. Now I can get on this sander, I can actually get this close because it's not going to hurt me as much as the disc sander will. It doesn't go as fast, so let me move that away. You still want to be careful that you don't get your hand on the sandpaper. This table isn't 290 degrees, so it's not sanding a 90-degree angle on this piece of wood. Okay. The other thing you want to do is you want to move where you're sanding, because you don't want the sandpaper or the piece of material to heat up. So I waited just so that you could see that you need to wait after you turn it off for the belt to stop moving before you walk away from the sander. Okay? We don't want to just turn it off and walk away because someone can come back, they don't know it's on, and then we got all kinds of issues. But this sanded this pretty smooth. Okay? So it's for cleaning up whatever you've cut to make it smooth. That's what these are for. They're not for cutting material. All right. So I think I got all the parts that you'll need. On and off switch, table, sander, adjustment knob, base, okay, angle, the table lever to release the angle. So those are all things you'll need to know in order to finish the assignment.
Now, one of the main things is that also you don't want to just push in one area and keep on that one area pushing on the sandpaper, because that creates friction, and with friction that creates heat, and that's going to burn your wood and also ruin the sandpaper. So it's a good practice for when you sand it, remember it back and forth. Okay. So you get a nice smooth surface, but you're not heating up this wood to the point that it burns. Okay. Now, this thing here looks like a big, huge eraser, and what this is for is to clean this off. As you can tell, it's got glue stuck in there. So if this sandpaper starts to look really ugly and you need to come and ask for the cleaner. And that's all you're going to do is drag it across there. It takes off enough of the glue that's on there from people sanding stuff so that it gets cleaner, more than 2 inches on that. Okay, the other thing that you want to make sure you do is this. Only one person is to be working on these sanders at a time, because it overloads the motor and you could cause damage to it. So if someone's sanding here and someone's sanding on this one at the same time, you're going to overload the machine. So you want to make sure that only one person per sander. That means if I'm working here, someone doesn't come and start working on this one. Okay, you need to wait till this one person gets off the machine before you come to it and start working on it. The same thing on the other disc sander on the other side. You don't want to have two people working on them because it overloads the machine and you could damage it. So one person on the disc and belt sander at a time. Remember, the belt and disc sander is for fine sanding. It's not for cutting material down. So anything more than 1/8 of an inch that you have to take off of material, you want to do it on a saw, the bandsaw, the scroll saw. Once we get to the miter saw and so on, you want to do it there. This is just for fine sanding to get a nice smooth edge on a project that you're working on. So that's the only reason we use the disc sander, the belt sander, and the oscillating sander. It shouldn't be for shaping your project, rough shaping your project. It should be for finish shaping your project, okay? All right. So that's about it for the belt sanders. Remember, if the belt is frayed, don't use it. Come and get me and I'll change the belt. If you hear it making some kind of funny noise, turn it off immediately. Come and get me. I'll check it out, see if there's anything wrong with it. One person per sander. Keep your fingers 2 inches away on the disc sander. Always. Always sand on the downside. Okay? You can get closer to 2 inches on the belt sander because it's not going to get you like the disc sander will. All right. So that's it on the sanders. I will have for tomorrow a safety test, a worksheet that you have to work on in order to get the credit for the belt sander. So there'll be a PowerPoint and there'll be a worksheet that goes with it, and that's what you'll do tomorrow. Any questions on this machine? Okay, it's a jet drum sander. It has different size sanding drums that you can put on here. The one that's on here right now is probably about a 2 inch. So I'm going to get a little bit closer because I want to show you guys how you guys can take this apart, change the drum. So you need these 2 wrenches. Okay. So they're changeable. So you have different plates for different sizes of spindle. This one in particular is the one we use for that, and I'm going to show you inside there. So you need to use the right spindle for the right plate, and then as you look down inside there, in order to take them off and change them, you need 2 wrenches. Okay, one fits on the bottom, the other one fits just above it, and you turn them counterclockwise to get this off. I'm going the wrong way. There you go. Okay, and once it's loose, then you can go ahead and turn this, and that comes out. Okay, so this is the bottom where the wrench goes, and this is the other part where the wrench goes in order to take that off. Now, this goes all the way down to this 1/4 inch or so spindle. So if you're sanding small projects so that you need to get into round edges, then that's what you would use. Okay. It also goes all the way up to this 2 inch. This one doesn't have a piece of sandpaper on it yet. The sandpaper comes in tubes like this, and those tubes fit over the rubber. Okay. This bolt right here, you need to make sure that it's tight before you use it. And here's what it does. This bolt compresses this rubber so it expands, and that's what holds the sandpaper on. Right now, I try to replace this and it's really difficult, so I'll work on that and get that changed. But I want to show you how this comes on and off, because you want to be able to change those as you get a chance to work with these. Now, you don't want to put it on extremely tight. You just want it snug enough to hold the spindle in. You don't want to just wrench it over tight, really tight, because then it's hard to get it off. The next person makes it really hard to get it off. Okay. So, let's see, give you a better view of that. There we go. So this has this little key right here that keeps it in the right place. So that goes on there. And the on and off switch is down here. Right here. Okay. As you can see, it spins clockwise and then it goes up and down.
and that helps you not to heat up the sandpaper while you're sanding. So as you sand with this, you want to make sure that you're holding on to it enough. Now this is spinning towards me, okay? So I want to make sure that as I drag this to sand it, I want to go counterclockwise, okay? If I go this way, it's going to want to take the piece and move it that way. And you can see that this is a very smooth cut. So it does a really good job of sanding. You have to be careful though, as you hold it, that, and don't let it get away from you. Okay. You want to hold it and not let it get away from you, and you want to push it counterclockwise. Okay. So you can tell that this is a very clean cut on this piece of wood. All right.
One fits on the bottom, right there. The other one fits just above it. Okay, and that tightens it that way and loosens it that way. Now you can pull this off just like that. Okay, and you can switch it to any one of these. Okay, different sizes. This helps out a lot in different different projects that we'll do throughout the year once you guys get back in class. Now you don't want to, like anything else, you want it snug enough to hold it, but you don't want to just tighten it, you know, with brute force, because then it makes it difficult for the other person to come in and change it. These slide in and off, in and out. They're difficult to get on at the beginning. That's what this is. Okay, this one got ruined, and I'm trying to get this on, and it can be challenging to get the sandpaper on, but with enough persistence you'll get it on. The other thing you want to do is make sure that this is tight, and what that does is it pushes down. Let's see if I can get this off real quick. Hold on. There you go. Okay. So just like this one right here, it pushes down on this rubber wheel or drum, and as it pushes down, it causes it to expand, right? It causes it to open up, and that's what keeps the sandpaper on. So you want to make sure this is tightened. Sometimes you'll start to use this, and this won't be tight, and then the sandpaper travels back and forth. So you want that to happen. Make sure that's tight. Make sure that you've already tightened the drum, and then you've got to change the plate. And let's see, this plate is the only one that's going to work on here, so I'm going to stick this plate back on there. You got to make sure that it has this little pin right here, that pin fits right there like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you the bottom part of it, and this is the bottom angle of it, and you can see that it has these two places to put the wrenches to loosen and tighten it. Okay. All right. So we're going to come back up. Now, the larger the drum, so this one's about a 2-inch, 2.5-inch drum. The larger the drum, the more dangerous this becomes, because as it turns, the revolutions get stronger with the larger the drum. So when you're using a small drum, it's not going to hurt you. The potential for injury is less. When you start going up in the drum size, then it gets, the potential increases. So you want to make sure that you are careful. And I want to give you just an idea real quick. Okay, so something I did earlier to make the stand was I did this part, right? And it's part that's holding up the laptop, and this was supposed to be for a keyboard that I'm not using. I'm just going to use a laptop. Now what I tried to do was come in here and sand. I came in here and tried to sand this, and I was using the larger drum, this one. And for some reason I started to sand it, but I let go. And when I let go, this started to turn around really fast, and I tried to stop it, I tried to turn it off, and I couldn't do it, and the whole thing fell off the table because it was wobbling. So you want to be very careful if you're sanding inside a hole or with the larger drum. You have to be very careful when you do this. You don't want to let go of this at any time. You want to sand into the drum the way it turns. Okay, you want to sand into the drum. So the potential for an injury can happen, especially if you let go. So you want to make sure that you're holding the material that you're sanding at all times. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and just sand this random piece of wood so you guys can see it. Okay, it's called an oscillating sander because it goes up and down as it turns. Now it's turning this way, clockwise, right? So you want to sand into or counterclockwise when you sand. Okay, now you can get into this corner and go around, and if you have a round project, something that's got a round shape, okay, that's going to sand this really nice. So the key is that this sandpaper will get you, okay? It will hurt you if you touch it, right? It's going to take off some skin because it's moving quite fast. You want to make sure that you're very careful that your fingers don't get into here, okay? Especially you don't want to get your fingers in here, because if your fingers get stuck in here, then you're really going to get, it's going to hurt you. So keep your fingers outside the black area. Do never turn it on with something touching the sandpaper. You always want to turn it on first, and then move it towards what you want to sand. Okay, move it towards what you want to sand. You don't want to ever just turn it on while you're sanding, okay? So you always got to move it towards or counterclockwise when you sand. Don't go clockwise because it'll take it and throw it. Okay. Now there's two of these. There's this one, which is a small one, and then back in the back corner, I don't think you can see it, but back in the back corner there's another one, and that has a larger drum on it, and it's a floor model. So when you get checked off on this, there'll be a PowerPoint next week on sanders, stationary sanders. We're going to do the belt and disc sander tomorrow, and I'll show you guys how to use those. So you want to make sure that you come to class tomorrow so you can see that, see the demonstration. Just like all the rest of them, I'll have this video up on Google Classroom in the next couple of days so you guys can refer back to it. Now the main thing is make sure you're using the right drum for the size that you're using, and it has a number. It goes all the way down to 1/4 of an inch. So if you're working on a small project and you want to sand a round part in a small project, then definitely you can change it. And there's a number of different ones. So just make sure that you put everything back where it belongs. Here are the different types of plates, okay, for the different sizes. This is for the largest one we have, and then it goes down from there. That one goes there, and they all go on the side of the machine. And there's slots there, so you don't want to just throw them on the table. You want to make sure that you put everything away where it needs to go. You will need, again, these 2 wrenches to turn it off. This plate just comes off, and now you can see what you're doing inside. So make sure that it's unplugged when you're changing anything on this machine. It's a good practice. If you can unplug a machine before you do any work on it, change a bit, change the sander, make sure it's unplugged. If you can't unplug it, at least make sure that it is definitely off. All right, so that's pretty short and sweet and simple. There's not a whole lot to it other than keep your hands away from the sandpaper. Make sure you have your project well secured so it's not going to move around on you. Always try to sand counterclockwise. So this is the oscillating drum sander. Oscillating drum sander. All right.